And a lot of it revolves around fat because the guidelines are changing dramatically.
You say it's exciting time because it is changing.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. The reason that it changes is because of the advances in science. And I know that you really appreciate that, and sometimes it confuses people, but we go with a consensus, with a body of evidence. And recently, the Heart Association dropped their restrictions on cholesterol. And
from what to what?
From 300 milligrams a day to no restrictions. That doesn't mean to eat cholesterol with abandon. What it means is what we're going to see in the new dietary guidelines at the end of the year, which is focus more on the type of fat rather than the amount of fat. So again, the dietary guidelines aren't going to say, you know, keep it to 30% or less. They're going to say have more unsaturated fat or oil than saturated, and have little or no trans fat.
Okay, let's go through all those different things. So let's, first of all, what is saturated fat?
Excellent. Saturated fat, think two S's. Saturated fat is solid fat. It's lard, butter, it's the white, what we call marbling or visible fat in meat, and poultry, skin, but the recommendation is going to be eat lean meat and to have seafood at least twice a week for the omega-3 fatty
acids. So the saturated
acids.
fat is what we need to really limit.
We do. We want to limit it to 10% or less, and the unsaturated fat are the plant oils. It's the olive oil, canola oil, soybean oil.
And what do the guidelines say about that?
To eat more of that because they are healthier fats in that they don't raise the bad LDL cholesterol. And this is the bottom line. The saturated fats do raise it, and the mono or the whole category of unsaturated don't. So as I say, we're really talking about the liquid plant oils. We're also talking about what we now call spreads. Used to be called margarine. The reason is that, you know, spreads like Country Crock have fewer ingredients. They have a profile that's closer to the unsaturated because they are made with vegetable oils.
And so this is what we need to concentrate on more so.
We need to have less butter, more spreads.
Okay.
We need to have more lean meat than fatty meat. We need to try to have poultry without skin. This is not a question of eliminating. This is a question of
moderation,
making wise choices, reading food labels when you go in. Even meats are now being labeled, and that's a big step.
Let's talk about labels. I mean, that is somewhat confusing for people. So what do they need to be looking at when they look at these labels?
Okay, they need to look less at the total fat, because we used to focus on that. They want to look for saturated fat and items that are low in saturated fat. Trans fat is on the label. It has its own line. You want to choose items that have little or no trans fat. Then you want to go down to the ingredient list a little bit. And you want to see things like soybean oil, canola oil. When you're making salad dressings at home, you want to use a little bit more olive oil. So there's so much information on the label now that it can help us identify the type of fat and be able to balance those choices.
And you said to use plant oils, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know, the only lard would be the only other type of fat.
Yes.
And that's solid at room temperature. in this area of the country, we don't tend to use a lot of lard. They do in the South.
They do. They load it up.
And they do it to some degree in the West and the Southwest. But again, we want to use spreads, we want to use vegetable oils, we really want to avoid trans fat, and we want to understand that when we see all these new recommendations coming down the line, it's based on a body of evidence. And as you know, as well as I do, there's always going to be an outlier study. You know, something that says something very different, but we want to look at the consensus.
Okay, well, you updated us on everything.
Well, I hope so. I'm going to come back when the new dietary guidelines come out.
And make sure that we remember.
Yes,
refresh that
absolutely.
memory. Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Pat, as always. We
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
It's good to be here.
Okay. And for more information, go to WTNH.com, click the On-Air tab, and pull down to the Good Morning Connecticut weekend section. And we will be, we are actually heading back to Sam. So sorry there,
No,
Sam.
no, that's totally okay.
All right, Sam, did you get all that information from Pat?
It's a lot of information, Pat, but always very good information, of course. Really great to hear that. Temperatures in Connecticut are in the 50s. We have some spots in the 60s. One or two of us down in southwestern Connecticut at 70 degrees. We will see our temperatures continue to go up through this afternoon, but it will be gradual because of how high the humidity is. And if it doesn't feel sticky outside for you, I promise you, it will not too long from now. A bunch of cloud cover across Connecticut, although it's not really popping up and showing very vividly on our